Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired Women Gathering Show. This is a show that talks about all things from life, relationships, spirituality, business, and everything in between. Women inspire me through their stories, their resilience, resourcefulness, tenacity, and the powerful movement that we make in the world. I love connecting and having deep conversations, sharing with you the women I'm so blessed to know and who inspire me, especially as we navigate together through this deep unknowing in our world today. My name is Dixie Bennett, and I'm your host, a soulful and wealth coach, helping you live an abundant life and create sustainable business with heart. I created this platform to highlight amazing women who I come across in my travels and connect with. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. And I'm so excited to introduce you today to a beautiful guest, JoAnn Stoneberg. And our topic today is your life path in astrology. JoAnn is a soul investigator and intuitive astrologer who sources teachings and guidance from her 20-year healing journey. Her training in ancient techniques has heightened her already intuitive skills to eloquently heal the souls of past lives that affect us today, to help earthbound spirits cross over, to transform the lineage of our ancestors, and to clear negative energies from our homes. JoAnn has the gift of translating the beautiful ancient language of astrology in a brilliant way that helps you understand and discover who you are at a soul level. Oh, I love that. JoAnn's passion is to help you uncover the hidden patterns unlocked in your unconscious mind that contribute to being stuck, feeling heavy, and unable to make a decision. When these hidden patterns are uncovered and brought to light, they can then be resolved. Once resolved, her clients can then move forward with clarity, purpose, and passion. Thank you so much, JoAnn, for being here. I'm so excited to dive into this with you today.
Thank you so much, Dixie, for having me. I really appreciate this, and I'm forward to our interview.
Talk. Yeah. So where in the world are you coming from?
So where in the world? I'm at home, like everybody else.
So, what part of the world are you coming from?
Yeah, details. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Awesome.
And yeah, so the sun is shining finally, and it's finally warming outside, so which is really nice. So yeah.
Definitely diving into springtime, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for such a beautiful bio, which a lot of details in there, and I'm so excited to dive in with you. I've known JoAnn for a long period of time, and she would describe her definitely. She turns everything into astrology. Every time we have a conversation, she turns it right into astrology, and that's one of her biggest gifts that I know is true to her. So I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and how you got started on this beautiful path of astrology, because I know it's been something you've been doing for a very long time.
It has. I've been doing astrology since about, 2002, 2003, I think it was. And I went to a seminar where 4 different people were talking about different things. One was talking about automatic writing, another was talking about channeling, and one person was talking about astrology. So I got home that night and I'm like, I want to learn astrology. So I get home and I say this to the universe. They heard me loud and clear, because from that point on, the big universal doors opened up and everything astrology fell out on top of me. Wow. From that point on, I took classes, ran into people and books and conferences. And for 4 years straight, I did nothing but study, eat, sleep, and breathe astrology outside of my day job. And I still study astrology today, not as extensively as I did then, because I was just right into it.
Right.
And so it just led me down this huge rabbit hole and just opened up so much for me, and a huge different understanding of the planet and the world that we live in, really at things from a very different perspective.
I love that. I appreciate that. I think, as I've evolved and grown into my things, I dive right in. Whatever I'm learning about, I'm like, or I'm a little bit obsessive. So when I come into things, or things that really strike me as that a feeling in alignment, it's just like about it. I want to be in person, and astrology was very much that. So was there anything specific, like what was the feeling for you when you felt like that aha for astrology?
Well, when I dove right into it, it was something that was mine. There was no agenda. It wasn't like going to a formal school where you had curriculums and semesters and all that. It was free study. You studied however you wanted, when you wanted, how much you wanted, what you wanted. And the study of astrology itself is a circle, right? Because we're looking at all the planets, the circle, everything's circular. And so it's quite funny because when I first started, I'm like, how am I going to learn this? Because I came from a very linear background of step 1, step 2, step 3, A, B, C. And I'm like, how am I going to study the circle with all these parts and pieces? So I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I know what to think of it like a puzzle. Learn this piece, learn that piece, and eventually all the pieces came together. So it's it's really helped me to understand people from a different perspective, to have more empathy for others. And that's what it's really done for me as well, is having more compassion and empathy for myself. But not only that, understanding why people are the way they are as well, and to not judge so much, right? So that's,
I think that's a huge piece. I know. I am so not in the language of astrology. I've been picking up little bits and pieces as we go, especially as I've gotten to know you, and I have other friends in astrology as well. And I hear other people just throwing words around sometimes. I'm just like, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds interesting.
yeah. And that's why I immersed myself when I first went to my first conference. It was like, how do you learn a new language? Because that's what it is. It's like you go to the country where that language is. So I went to the conferences and everyone's talking astrology. And you pick up on things, you learn things by doing that. And it was awesome. So I really learned a lot doing that as well, learning the language.
Wow. And tell me a little bit, because I know, well, we've known each other for so many years. Both of us came from oil and gas. And I know that you have also walked both worlds for a little while. So tell me a little bit more about your transition. Like, at what point did you decide that maybe this would be a job or something that you could create as a career? I don't even like the word job, but that just a career transition point? Or was it in fact ever, did you think of it as a career?
It's since I started in on 2004, it was always a passion. And I just loved it. It was a hobby, and I do readings for people here and there. And then eventually, as you know, as time went on, it was like, oh, I want to do this for, you know, I want to do this as my sole entrepreneur, as my sole work, and being passionate about it. And now here I am. There is a big journey in that transition as well. My last few years in the oil and gas industry were happy because everyone was getting laid off, and I eventually got laid off as well in 2015, which more or less kickstarted me. It's like, okay, you're doing what you're meant to be doing now. I can't not do what I do. Or I can't not do anything else. I have to do this. I've sidetracked a little bit in the past few years, and I come back to this. So this is it. I'm wired this way. This is what I'm meant to do and who I am, and away I go.
Did you ever have any insight about this as a child? And that's one of the conversations I've been loving having with people, is like, what are you doing anything now that you connected with as a child? Like, did astrology ever come up for you as a child, or any aspects of it? Like, did you have a keen awareness or a heightened awareness when you were a child?
I did have a heightened awareness, a very strong intuitive sixth sense, if you will, when I was a child, but not specifically with astrology. It was more the energies around me and being a sensitive empath. So that's the only thing I really connect from the past, my childhood, to today, where I've enhanced that skill as well in helping people heal the energies around them and in their homes, and working with earthbound spirits, which I've always done sort of automatically as I was growing up here and there. And the interesting thing to note, though, was I have a brother and sister, and my mom had these three magazines, and in the back of each magazine was a fill out of all the babies' information, their birthday, you know, their size, their foot size, you know, their weight, and all these things, right? And in my book, on the back page of mine was an astrology chart. So I found that really interesting that that was there. But it wasn't in my brother and sister's books. It was only in mine. So
Really?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
got
know.
goosebumps with that. That is so, well, I mean, again, it's the magic happens in alignment. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
There's some interesting energy that's kind of going around up here. I just got pulled up. Anyway, so tell me a little bit more about, I want to talk just a little bit about the two worlds between, you know, when you're being a sensitive, because I had this experience for myself when I knew that my paths were starting to really separate, and it was really, I felt really difficult, or it felt really difficult for me to, you know, I was very unsettled because I had one foot in oil and gas still, and then definitely one foot really moving into this other path, and it was a strong calling. So how did you navigate that, and especially working with other people, being an empath, being sensitive? What are some tools or techniques that you use to manage your day-to-day self in that world?
So back in that world, I always went to a lot of conferences, surrounded myself, and retreats with like-minded people to help me stay connected with that. Working downtown was very challenging in a way because it wasn't uplifting. It was very depressing. It was very hard. But it was also, there was also a learning in there for myself as well, life learning for myself. So even though I'm a sensitive empath, we still, you know, go through those life learnings for ourselves, 'cause we are human. So it was just that life learning and turning point where realizing that, you know, starting to realize in the last 3 or 4 years at work down in the oil and gas industry, where it's like, I can't do this anymore and something's got to change. And that's when the universe kicked me out of downtown by laying me off. So, because it was
Well,
really hard for me to change that.
can you explain a little bit more about life learnings? What does life learnings mean? So what did you learn?
So the work that I was doing, I was in accounting and doing accounting work downtown, and I was doing that for my dad, always wanting my dad's approval. And it's interesting, the year that I got laid off was the year that my father's life was waning, and he actually passed the year after. So as his life was waning, my job was also, you know, disappearing as well. So there was a synchronicity there with, and that connection with my father. It's like, okay, that time period is over. And I knew this a long time ago too, that I was working to get the attention of my father, and so he'd be proud of me. And now that I'm doing what I'm doing now, it's all come back to like myself and being proud of me for what I do, not for doing something for somebody else.
Yeah, isn't that so important? I think, and so many of us get caught up because I know I did. I did too. I thought oil and gas was the job. It was where the money was. It was and I was adamant about, I was in a different career, and I knew, I just always knew. I mean, oil and gas has been in my family for generations. It's not something new. And it was just the place where, you know, it was either farming or oil and gas. That's really all I knew. And so, but doing things because of the perception of success for others, right? And I know so many people who fall into that need to gain approval and to travel that path of perceived success.
Yeah.
If you could go back to your younger self from even 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
I would probably tell myself, take the leap, quit, and go do your thing. Right? Go do what I'm doing now. I would tell myself. It would be pulling teeth though, telling my 10-year younger self. So it's like, I'd be like, no, I can't. Right. So, but I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So all good.
Yeah, that's so cool. So tell me a little bit more about astrology and how, well, even just because there's so much happening in the world right now. And tell me a little bit more. Well, I'd love to hear your perspective about, you know, anything that you'd like to share about what's happening in the world, any projections, any insights that you'd like to share with us today.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, a lot happening in the planet right now. And a lot of astrologers did see this coming, 2020 it being a big year. They did, and myself as well. 3 years ago, I saw this lineup of planets in January 2020. I'm going, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? We had no idea to the extent of what was going to happen. We only knew that structure and society and humanity was going to change, but we didn't know how that would play out. So right now there's a lot of information out there that's misinformation, disillusioned, truth, lies. It's just overwhelming, right? And
censorship. Oh my gosh, like so many things.
Yeah, so many things. And so right now, when this all first started, it was like, oh, this is the Great Awakening, for people to wake up. And I've really noticed since this started myself, a real separation, and even more so of a separation of the vibrations of people. I feel like I'm in a very different vibrational level than a lot of other people, and not to say anything's good or bad, like it's not just is what it is. And so,
but can you describe for what is that vibration? So what are you experiencing in the energy of vibration? So like for an example for myself, I'm just like, I'm playing in the energy of abundance. I'm seeing prosperity in so many levels. Every time I've gone to the grocery store, I've gotten everything that I need. And I know for other people, they've had to wait in line and they've had to struggle and they've had, there's real life experiences happening, where, their livelihood is challenged. So yes, there's, can you describe that a little bit more? I'd love to hear your opinion about even just the densities and the polarities that are going on and what it means to be in a different vibration, what your experience is.
Yeah, so my experience is when I look at all the nurses and doctors and all the virus thing going on, it's like I'm an outsider looking in. I can't wrap my head around it.
Right.
And it's just weird. It's like, okay, life has changed. I have to adapt to a new way of being and living, and only go to the store when you need, and go in, go out, no loitering, right? And so it's also adapting to new rules out there, which change every day apparently. And so the separation though is, I'm finding that the vibration is wherever you're at is being expanded upon, if you will, where, like you say, people are waiting in line or they're struggling, that's expanding for them. Whereas yourself, you're living in abundance and joy and seeing all that around you and attracting those people, that's expanding for you. You're in that field. So those things are very noticeable now, from my perspective. And I'm really noticing that. And for me, I'm just be like, okay, the world's changed. What do we need to do? How do we need to play the game now? Right. And taking the necessary steps to, navigate through all this mess that we're in. Right. Yeah. So one of the other things that a friend mentioned to me was the planet Pluto is all about transformation and change, endings and new beginnings. And the analogy my friend gave was like Clint Eastwood in those spaghetti westerns coming into town, being Pluto, and targeting all the different things in the town that need to be shook up and changed. So it's like all the senior centers are being, expounded upon. And so Pluto's come in there. It's like, this isn't right. This has to shift and change. We got to make this, make everybody aware of this. So all that stuff happened, about all the schools and the doctors and our food and everything else, the banking system, our governments even. Right? It's like, oh my goodness, who are these people? Why are they leading us? It's like, it's just crazy out there. It's just nuts. So that's how I sort of see, and I really like that analogy of Pluto that my friend gave me of, Clint Eastwood coming into town on his horse and, shaking things up to make things all right again.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the right again part because I don't know that we had it right in the first place.
No, we didn't. Our
But
society
it's
was
definitely,
flawed
definitely
before.
shaking everything up for sure.
Yeah, definitely shaking things up. So one of the other things happening right now in the planets are these 2 points in space called Rahu and Ketu, which is our karmic or our destiny, both personally and collectively.
Mm.
So personally, I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of this. Personally, this is giving us time to go inner and reflect on our own lives, how we want to change ourselves, giving us that time and that pause from our busy days from before, 2 months ago, and to really sit back and think, okay, who am I really? And what do I want to change? And how do I really want to live my life going forward?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that's asking us to do that right now, these 2 points in space called Rahu and Ketu is where the sun's path crosses, or the moon's orbit around the earth crosses the sun's path, and those 2 points are called Rahu and Ketu. And they're related to the moon.
Mm.
And there's a whole story of them, but I won't go into that. But I do want to mention that those 2 points in space will change zodiac signs every 18 months. And we've just gone into Gemini and Sagittarius here, like today. They just shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius today, this karmic line. Now, that all, and they came from the zodiac signs of Cancer and Capricorn. Cancer and Capricorn were all about home and work and our emotions and our responsibilities and all these things, and family and traditions and roots. Whereas now Gemini and Sag, you think we've got overload of information. It's just
There's
started.
more? We're going to be overloaded more?
We're going to be overloaded more. So
wow. Well, for the next 18 months, that's when.
So it's in Gemini and Sag for the next 18 months. And so Gemini and Sag, Gemini is all about the expert communicator, the storyteller, being sociable, many ideas on the go. Right. Intuitive hands, the teacher, the writer, the humorist, the trickster, the jack of all trades.
Right.
It's all about siblings and short travel. And Sagittarius then is all about the international traveler. Not that we can travel a whole lot right now.
No, but zooming, we can zoom all over the planet. I have to anyway. Yeah.
Sagittarius is also about the teacher, being inspired, the optimist, the wisdom, the intuitive knowledge, expressing our personal truth, lies, and also too about being tolerant. Have another, because it's not all light and fluffy out there, right? It's not all rainbows and unicorns. So Sagittarius can also be about exaggerating, being the know-it-all, unfocused, impractical, self-deluding, opinionated, hypocritical, blunt, tactless, superficial, careless, sloppy, procrastinating, unreliable, restless, wonderless, yet jovial and high-spirited and enthusiastic, open-hearted and generous. And Gemini can also be nervous and gossipy and indecisive and inconsistent and superficial and scattered, two-faced, high-strung, fidgety. And with all of this Sagittarius Gemini energy in our karmic collective energy, but also on our personal level as well. Now, one of the other things we have going on is the planet Neptune, which is all about our compassion, our mistake, our disillusionment, our, unclear, unsure, our fogginess, is connected to these 2 points for the next probably couple of years, or for the next 18 months, or for the next while as well. So it's also asking us to surrender into being our true authentic selves. So surrendering into accepting what's happening and going with the flow and changing so that we can adapt to the new way of being and new way of living. So all of these Jupiter, Sagittarius and Gemini and Neptune are all mutable. They're all adaptable. So it's all about adapting and changing to the new way of being.
Yeah. I find that
new
so
way of being.
interesting because I really personally, like, I literally felt a shift on like May 1st. It
Yeah,
was literally, I felt a door, it was like this door opened and it was just like, ah, I can breathe. And I
yeah,
just felt lighter. I felt lifted. I felt like I could, I mean, I've been building and building lots of things. But since May 1st, like it's been massive downloads, massive
yeah,
creativity,
yeah.
following the threads. And it's just like immersion. Like I've been deeply immersed in study, where
Hmm.
certain things I've been kind of putting off because I just didn't feel like I had the mental capacity for it.
Yeah,
And now I'm like taking in the information, activating. So then it's just like activating, applying, activating, applying.
yeah,
And it's just like real time seeing result. Like everything that I'm doing right now has been activating results, like
yeah.
immediate. I mean, for me personally, I'm naturally a manifesting generator, so I can think of things and bring it into reality very quick. I'm powerful at manifesting naturally as well. Um, and I've been kind of in this void of time. Like I have no idea what time it is. Thank God I have a calendar that I've been putting stuff into and I've just been following it every day. But I really have no sense of day or time.
Yeah.
Um, but the knowledge, like I'm just consuming new levels of knowledge. And I like what you said about the international travel, because it's, for myself, I was very international a couple of years ago. And then it just, my life took a little bit of a turn. And now it's like reigniting my international relationships, but also I've up leveled, and just meaning that I'm attracting, I'm connecting, which is a whole different you know conscious people in conversation, conscious business, in a whole different, just new people that I had never really been connected to, but also getting connected to the leaders of the leaders that I followed before, which is super, super cool because I didn't even know these people existed. And
Nice.
now, it's just a whole new level of awareness and awakening. So to me, it's very, very exciting. It's a very, I definitely feel like I'm moving forward, but I would agree with you too. Like the information that's coming out, there's a lot of censorship, and just following quite a few of my mentors and teachers who are speaking out loud about certain things, have been totally censored and shut down and being quieted, so to speak. But they're also being called to find different platforms that are on much bigger global scales as well. So it's kind of like when one door opens, it's like another door, there's another opportunity, and it's even bigger than the opportunity that was there before.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so the Gemini Sag energy is a lot lighter than that Capricorn Cancer was really
Really
heavy,
heavy.
really heavy energy. And the other thing about Gemini and Sag, like I said, very light energy and connecting with everybody and learning and
Mhm.
teaching. It's what's it all
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
One of the big things here with Neptune involved is also really sitting back and discernment,
Mhm.
and questioning everything. You
Mhm.
you ask, you get an answer, question again. You
Mhm.
ask, you get an answer, question again, question again, question again. So it's question, 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 question. And then it's stepping back also from social media as well, because
Interesting.
that can get very overwhelming for a lot of people when you get too caught up in that, of course.
Mhm.
I know I did that one day. I watched too much of it one day and it completely burnt myself out.
Yeah.
It took a couple of days to like, okay, note to self. Let's not
Mhm.
watch that so much and only get the information that I need, to
Yeah.
be informed of what the changes are and what's
Right.
happening going forward in the world, right?
And I haven't even paid too much. I find that it just kind of, whatever I need to know kind of comes through in a channel that's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's good to know, mentally noted. But one of the things I've really noticed too about myself is how studious, like I feel like I've been so studious. It's
yeah,
like, again, it's like I'm taking in the information, I'm making notes, I'm very, I would say I'm not distracted, because oftentimes, like, I have a million other things going on and a million other places that I need to be, and I'm thinking ahead. Whereas right now, I'm taking it in and I'm just doing the homework immediately that has been
yeah,
requested. and I'm applying it, and I'm doing it in baby steps, and I'm not overwhelmed by, you know, trying to hurry to get into the next thing. I'm just really taking in the information, applying it, doing the homework, and then ready for the next piece the next day. You know, and it's just, and that's such a different piece for me, because usually I'm like information, overload, don't do anything but naturally manifest, you know, the
Yep.
pieces that work. Whereas I
Right.
feel like I'm really taking, it's like, here's the instructions, I'm building the model, right? And it's like, even the programs that I'm in, they're like, everyone has had great success who's applied step by step. Here's the methodology.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I can take that. And it's not, even the teachers that I'm having right now are not overpowering me with information. They're slowly, like methodically massaging it in and allowing you to absorb it, instead of just like, da 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 da, now go and do it. You know,
Right. Yep.
it's been very it's
Nice.
just a different pace that you know, I guess that's a testament as well of just the energy that's being experienced.
Sure. Well, and the world has slowed down too,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yes.
And it's like, oh, we have time now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but then everybody's like, let's hurry up and get back to work,
Right.
right? You know?
Yeah. So
So,
what are some tools, like, again, tools for other people? So
mm.
what can they expect, or what might they look for? Or what are some things that they could even apply for themselves in this, as we transition into this time, into
so,
the new energy of Gemini and Sagittarius?
so into the new energy of Gemini and Sagittarius is big on discernment, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also too about coming back to self and really doing a lot of inner reflection and working through any issues or obstacles you may have within yourself. But it's about stepping back and slowing things down within yourself, which is what a lot of people in the spiritual world have been saying. It's like, sit back, relax, stop, inner reflection time. It's inner reflection time, and take a pause. You know, taking that pause and meditation. Yes, you still have to do your day to day. You still have to eat and take care of yourself and people around you, of course. It's more about, you know, having that time for meditation. I think to really slow down the anxiety or the depression or the fears is when you can sit and meditate and just really relax, listening to music, reading a book, just slowing things down for yourself. I think that really helps as well. So in my practice at home, every morning I have my yoga and meditation practice in the morning, and that helps set my day. And if I don't do that in the morning, my day's off. Like, you know, it's like, damn, I should have done that this morning. But no, it's I can't not do that, right? So it's the meditation is key for sure. And also too, the other thing that I found that helps me is the habit I've adopted is writing down on my blackboard what I'm going to be doing the next day, you know, and make it, you know, attainable, you know. And if there's things on there that I don't get done, no big deal, but that's my goal. So it gets me up out of bed. And also making your bed in the morning too, you know, because we are at home, we can get a little lazy sometimes, right? And when you make your bed in the morning, it's like, oh, I've accomplished something. It feels good, you know, my day has started. So there's those things for people to do as well.
So what I've been calling it a global still point, as you know, this whole time. So do you feel like we're going to be still in this global still point for like a while, or is it going to be the next 18 months where we're still going to be in this very slow period?
So over the next, when we first started, I knew we were going to be in this for at least a year. Okay, so next spring. So
Right.
it's ebbing and flowing. It's like this is all new for everybody. And the changes occurring and all the information going around. And it's like we're in the wash and rinse cycle, you know, until we come out of the dryer and hung on the, you know, on the clothesline to dry. We don't know how this is going to play out, what decisions are ultimately going to be made for society as a whole going forward. So this is where I sort of step back and let the powers that be sort things out, because I'm not an expert in all that stuff. I'm not a scientific expert or running governments or anything like that. So I just, do my thing and work with me, right? And help other people where I can. And so we are seeing, so Saturn, okay, let's talk about Saturn here for a minute. The planet Saturn. Now Saturn he's all about, let me see here. Planet Saturn. He's one of the big guys out there. He comes along and he can be very authoritative, responsible, disciplinary, all those things. And Saturn has gone through Capricorn here, and he's now gone into the sign of Aquarius. And he's been there for the last month already. So this is why things are feeling a little bit lighter as well. However, he's going to be going, I'm just looking at my book here, he's going to be going back into Capricorn in July, beginning of July. And so he'll be touching back into Capricorn at the beginning of July, and then going back into Aquarius towards the end of the year, I believe it is. Yes, yeah, in December. So with his journey back into Capricorn between July and December, we may see have some more heavy energy. So enjoy this lightness that we have right now between May and June, right? And so he's going to touch, and in the fall too, we also have the dance between, I know I'm talking astrology, and the planets at Saturn, our planet of responsibility and standing up for yourself and taking responsibility for self. We have Jupiter also, which is very jovial and expanding on things, and Pluto, which is transformative. Those three are doing a dance between Capricorn and Aquarius right now, all within very close parameters of each other.
Interesting.
And so over the next year here, they're doing this dance together. So things are going to ebb and flow. Right now, we're in a little bit of a light period. So go out and get the sunshine, go out and have some fun. In the fall, it might not be so. And towards the end of the year, the winter might be a little more challenging at the end of the year again. We don't know. And going into spring, next spring, I think is when, now I'm only forecasting, don't quote me on this, but it feels to me that in the spring, there will be more hard and fast rules set up, possibly, right? We're still testing the water with everything, we're still testing the waters with decisions and how to manage things, with the vaccine and with what's it called, everybody having a wage, government wage. I forget what they call that, but everybody having an equal pay, provided by the government. How is our money structure going to change? That's all being sorted out right now too. So it's really interesting, because we don't know which way this is all going to land.
Right.
So yeah, interesting times we live in, and it's a joy, because I know we are supposed to be going through this, and it's also exciting times to be living in, even though it's scary at the same time. It's like,
well, it's the unknown, and one of the words I love that's been coming up over and over again is experimentation. We're in this massive this experience of experimentation, because the globe, every culture, like everybody is, like nobody's exempt from this experience right now. And everybody feeds into each other on the global economy. Every culture, like no community is unaffected, so it's like everything is on an even, it's like everything's cleared out. Well, as you said, it's like shook up. Everything has been shook up, and Clint Eastwood has been busy.
Coming in, shaking things up. It's making us realize how connected we are, and how reliant we are on everything and everybody. It's also leveling the playing field with all the people that are postal workers and all the frontline workers at the grocery stores, and and the nurses and doctors and all those people. It's like, and the farmers, it's like we're realizing how important all these people are. These are the core wheel, the core to the wheel, helping all the rest of us survive and do the things we want.
Yeah, so true. So true. So for yourself, what do you think what have you learned through this experience? What would you say you've learned about yourself or discovered about yourself going through this process?
Besides staying home and hiding under the covers,
Well, I know I've had this conversation with many people. Us introverts have no problem staying at home. But
yeah.
what would you say that you have learned? What has this experience taught you?
This experience has taught me to really step into being me. And I've really noticed that with friends. Friends are different now. It's like some friends are like, oh my goodness, everybody's starting to really show their true colors.
Yes.
And it's, you know, for myself, I'm really stepping into a different me, showing my true colors and not worrying about what anybody else thinks. It's like, this is me, this is what I'm doing. You know, I keep going around to people like, have I gone nuts? Like, what's wrong with me? You know, I'm questioning my own actions, right? You know, and they're like, no, you're fine, you know, keep doing what you're doing. And so I'm really noticing that.
I've noticed
Stepping
deeper
into my own self.
conversation. Yeah, deeper. Well, there's been a deeper appreciation, I think, and even people who've been kind of in the background, I've noticed quite a few people have actually been stepping more into the foreground, and others have kind of kind of fallen away or stepped back. There's been some big changes. And I just feel, but it feels so good. Like it's just a new level of friendships, a new level of appreciation, a new level of conversation, and even just reconnection, a deeper opportunity of connection. I mean, for me, it's been exciting. I mean, this podcast was designed out of this, and it's always something I've kind of thought about, and it's just like, I don't know, you know, it's just like one more thing to do, but it's just like I've filled my time with it, and it's been so much fun because it's been rich conversation and great learning and discovery. Anyway, so
Yeah, and I find it too, it's really spurred me on to take more action because I was kind of sitting around the last year waiting for something to change. I didn't know what it was. And then all of a sudden this happened. It's like, oh, now I can spring into action and be me. And
right.
one of the other things I want to mention as well is in my meditations, I was humbled by being a human being on planet Earth and asking Earth and Mother Gaia, is it okay that I be here? You know,
Yes.
it just like so humbled and honored that you're holding me on your planet. And it's like, oh, tread lightly, use, you know, be nice, be gentle, be, you know, kind, honor. And so it's still very humbling, you know, every time I use water, it's like, oh, is it okay to use the water? You know, asking the universe, right?
I really felt, well, I would say for me, Earth Day was very humbling experience of, I went out into nature, and it just showed so much of itself to me. It was amazing, from the birds' song and I wasn't even interrupting it. Like it was just like I was a part of everything. And that's a big part for myself. Like every time I go into nature anyway, I always ask for permission to enter. As soon as I get out of the car and I'm on the land, I just ask right from that point. I ask for permission to enter in, and I'm so grateful for the bounty and the beauty that Mother Earth and the forest wants to share in that in the collaborative experience together. And nature always reveals so many gifts and beauty and divine intelligence. And I find more of myself in it. And I went to this beautiful space, and I didn't know until I got there, but it was at a turning point of the current in the water. And I felt this like massive shift because you could see another stream. It was a really beautiful spot of the different layers of water, the different currents, and then the turning point of the major water, right? So it was the Bow River moving through and rushing, and then the other stream entry points. There was one major, quite a busy stream, and you could really see the current kind of trickling in slowly, but then being immersed into the fast-moving Bow River. And I really felt that push-pull energy between the two worlds. And it was so cleansing. It was just such a beautiful clearing. And to me, that's what nature's there for us. And water can be very gentle. It can be very moving, very clearing. It moves stagnant energy just like the wind. And it was so beautiful too. As the seasons change, I love watching the wind sweep. I always call it the sweeping of the world. And so sometimes it's very blustery. Sometimes right now it's like that springtime, you know, the little mini dust devils that get created. They're like little mini tornado type things that just kind of sweep the world, you know, just sweep the land. And it's moving dust. It's moving the old leaves. It's moving, just moving the energy around. And preparing for spring, the new beginnings, right? So I really love the cycles of nature when we can really be present to honoring it. And I was even driving one day. I literally saw this gust of wind just moving dust. It was just like this massive broom that was just swept the dust, you know? And it was just so, and then it was like, so beautiful, you know? It was just like all that dust, that old dust and debris and whatever was in the way, and just gone.
Yep. Gone. Exactly. I know, it's amazing. Mother Nature is just fascinating.
I know. And it's slowing down enough to really pay attention to it beyond the recreation, right? It's just the recreation wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If it didn't fully appreciate, you know, just going in and the vastness and the discovery and the colors and anyway, I could go on and on. But yes, one of my loves is Mother Nature for sure. So tell me a little bit more. I'd love to hear about some of your mentors, like who's kind of helped you along the way or held space for you or guided you on your path.
So one of my teachers that came along when I started in on astrology, a few years after I'd started in on astrology, was my teacher for my work in deep memory process, which is dealing with past life regression work and the ancestors and earthbound spirits. And her name was Patricia Walsh. Mm-hmm. And so I really learned a lot from her. She's a shaman. She's just insanely, you know, she's a walking metaphysical library. Right? Mm-hmm. And her trainer from the deep memory process work was Roger Wolger, who's the founder of that work. And I had the pleasure of being in his last few classes before he passed away in 2011. I was in his last class before he passed away a few months later. Yeah. So anyway, but she's also an astrologer, of course. Mm-hmm. And she's also been my trainer and has really been an inspiration for me to really guide me and train me in the work that I do, because I really felt synchronicity with the work that she does and utilizes all of my skill set. So honing and training with her for the past 4 or 5 years, and still working with her here and there when she puts out workshops. So yeah, and she's one. And then I've had many other people along the way to help me out. Yourself, of course, Dixie, helped me change my mindset from working 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. Right? So that was a real mind shift.
Yes, big time.
Big mind shift there. And just, I don't know, there's been so many other teachers. All my astrology teachers, of course, throughout the years have been very inspirational to me. And I'm always learning, and I'm always learning from all my friends and family as well. So it's yeah, looking at life as just, this is what I'm here to learn, and these are why the people are in my life. And yeah, so always learning.
I know that there's a couple different styles of astrology, right?
Yes.
What you call them styles. So which, and I know there's the evolution. You've shared a few of those with me as well. So what are the different types of astrology and why are they important?
So the astrology I gravitated to is evolutionary astrology, which is the study of the soul and our, you know, our karmic history. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then there's financial astrology. There's financial astrologers out there who do really well yeah, who can check with because everything's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
So they check the timing of things and the cycle of things, and when things happened in the past, and when the same planetary alignments line up, they know what's going to happen in the financial market, so they use that to their advantage. So it's a real tool. Medical astrology as well. All the planets, the signs, all relate to parts of the body and our physical selves. And there's medical astrologies out there who can pinpoint, and oh my goodness, it's just, you know, amazing. There's also horary astrology, which is the study of asking a question. I lost my keys. You throw the chart as to when that question was answered to find your keys, or you lost your kitten, or who stole my car, or all these questions. So there's that's a study, and all of these are different studies in themselves. Another one is mundane astrology. Mundane astrology is what I'm really looking at now, which I sort of gravitate to now a little bit, is correlating where the planets are today with what's happening on Earth. So the planetary alignment of Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, the Sun and Mercury and Mars at one point all lined up in the sign of Capricorn in January 2020. A lot of us astrologers saw that coming. And the last time the big guys I call them Pluto, the ones orbiting farthest out away from Earth, Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn, the last time those three were together in that lineup in Capricorn was 90 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, I'll let you do the math on that one. But so it's mundane astrology looks at what's happening on the planet and the cycles that it brings, and is that going to happen again? We don't know until we get in it.
It's 90 years ago, right? That was World War II. Right?
That was 1930s. That was the Dirty 30s.
Oh, the Dirty 30s. Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And they went through 10 years of a depression.
Right.
You know, is that what we're in for? We don't know, right? Is our economy, are people going to be smart enough to not let that happen?
Right.
Right. And this is where the choices and choices that we make as a collective humanity will happen to determine which way life will go. So, and I don't know. Right.
Yeah, I've been listening to some different financial people for sure talking about the reality right now, and going back to talking about the depression and just kind of where we're sitting. That's really interesting, because I have heard through some other astrologers that I know that, you know, it's this lineup has happened at different times of major life, global turning points, right, is what we'll call it. Global turning points of massive major upheaval, war.
Exactly. And I don't like to, you know, bring about any bad news or anything. Of course, I'm a Sagittarian. I like to be optimistic, but it's like,
I love that. I love to be optimistic too.
You know, it's like, hey, stuff is happening. Yes. And if the planets are any indication that what happened 90 years ago in the 1930s is a possibility of what's happening now, I mean, look at where we're at. There's a possibility that that may happen. I can't, you know, sugarcoat that, right? I'm hoping not, because we are a lot more evolved than, hopefully we're a lot more evolved than we were back in the 1930s.
Well, I mean, that there is evolution, but there's also great opportunity. I always look for the opportunities. So what are the opportunities to shift, change, or create, you know, change the things that haven't been working? It's an opportunity. I've been describing it as just really going in and cleaning up your basement. You know, it's a great time. Everyone's been called home. So it's a great time to really, you know, leverage, because when we look at the root chakra energy, it's all about family. It's all about money. It's all about connections. It's all about our career. So it's just a beautiful opportunity to really go deeper into, you know, what is serving you right now? Where do you need to be shaken up, and what needs your attention that maybe you've been denying?
Yeah.
And then you get to take the appropriate actions in order to shift, change, grow, implement, plant your seeds right now, you know, for what you want to reap in the next 18 months, for example, as you shared, right?
Exactly, totally, because there is still a lot of opportunity here. And I'm sure if you went back to the 1930s, there were still people who are very opportunistic and still living in abundance, totally. You know, so there is still a lot of opportunity here for sure. you know,
Mhm.
to really better yourself, change your lifestyle, change things up, do what you want to do, you know,
Yeah, and I think, and that's the beautiful gift of this time, I think, is
yeah,
it's everyone's been called home
yeah,
to really focus on what fills you up, right? So it's
exactly.
about really coming back home to yourself. I love
Yeah,
what you shared earlier about being me, right? Being unapologetically me. I mean, just, well, both of us, I know we both live alone. And so, I'm not sharing my space with anyone. I don't have to be apologetic to anyone for anything or apologizing for being too loud or, I mean, I'm not typically that person anyway. But I just really have been enjoying my own rhythm, and I'm not oversleeping. I'm not binging. I mean, I'm binging on personal development, I would say. Um, and one of actually, a little bit of advice. I was having a conversation earlier today, and it just kind of came out, and it's a great opportunity to clean out your email. Just clean out your communication channels so
yeah,
that it's clean and open for what's possibilities and opportunities to come. And in doing that, the awakening for me was more about completion. It was like all these pieces were coming up that were incomplete. So like past certifications that I've been kind of, yeah, I should probably get to that. I'll get to that later. I've been too busy. But that's where I've been feeling studious. And it's just like I'm ready to come into it in wholeness and just complete it and get it off my table, get off my plate, and going into emails. And actually going through programs that I purchased and forgot about, and just going through all the emails, but I've been just searching their name, putting their name in, and then going to the very bottom and then working through the emails, working upwards so that you go back to the beginning and then delete them. I'm just deleting and clearing it all out as I go through. So again, for me it's a new awareness of full completion, like just going through and fine-tooth combing, clearing out without the distraction of other pieces. It's like, yeah, I'll get to that later. This is what my priority is right now, and I'm willing to really focus in on
exactly. And I'm a little bit of the opposite.
it.
I'm getting rid of all the stuff in my email. It's like, oh, here's this program, here, do this, here, do that. I'm like, no, no, no. I've got enough on my plate to focus on. So I'm getting rid of all the things that are distracting so that
Mhm.
I can focus on the things that I want to focus on, which is my astrology
Right.
and the energy healing work that I do. So
Well, I mean, I the same thing. Like, I'm not taking new
yeah.
programs
Oh
unless
yeah,
they're
no.
very
Yeah,
much in alignment with what I
yeah,
need right now. But there is
totally.
there is that noise. But I have been going back through and just really getting crystal clear on like what
Yeah,
have I, maybe when I purchased it, it was a good idea, but can I apply that to now? And
yeah,
if it's still a no, either delete it or complete it, like get rid of it.
yeah.
But that's
Delete it
part
or
of the
complete it.
cleaning out, right?
Yeah,
And unsubscribing and unsubscribing to things
exactly.
that don't really serve you,
Exactly.
and just opportunities of bringing in new energy too.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yes, fun times we are living in for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's such an interesting time. Do you
It
have
is.
any other advice or anything else that you'd like to share?
Um, One of the things I'm focusing on right now, which I have in the past a little bit, but doing more of a deeper dive, is the moon. Now,
Mm,
it's interesting that we're at home
yes.
and the moon is about home.
Hmm.
So, following the moon through the zodiac signs or just following the moon through its phases and
Hmm.
tapping into those is, I like to call it moon magic.
Hmm.
And following that rhythm and tapping into it, you might find that you're closer to it than you think you are,
Hmm.
because we instinctually sort of do it subconsciously, but when we start making it conscious and can tap into those moon energies as to what's happening daily for us and where our emotions go and what's going on there with our emotions, it's interesting that they would be stronger now because we are at home and the moon does represent the home.
Yeah. I love I would say that I would have definitely awakened. I mean, the moon has always played a big part in my life. I've always I've always loved the moon, even as a child. The moon used to come into my window. Like it would literally I would be bathed in moon milk, moonlight.
Nice.
And I just remember being a kid, I could never fall asleep. Like the full moon, I was just supercharged.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way even to this day. But I always find like I process a few days before everybody
Yeah.
else is going through their stuff relating to that moon. And I've been paying attention more to the new moons and the full moons, the waxing, the waning, and just really how it's playing out for myself. So tell me a little bit more about like what are some things that people, so it's one thing to notice, like what should you pay attention to, and what's the importance of each one of the phases of the moon?
Okay, so there's four primary phases. There's the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the third quarter. So between the new moon and the first quarter is all about setting your intention, what your ideas are, and getting the ball rolling. Into the first quarter, it's like, oh man, this is an uphill battle, and your mantra is like, you got this, keep going, what resources do you need, and how do you want to keep that going? So I use the analogy of planning a party. So at the new moon, you start your ideas and you're starting to plan the party, and then just before the first quarter or during the first quarter, you're going out shopping, sending out invitations, getting everything ready, talking to people, setting it all up, everything that goes into event planning. And then at the full moon, as we know, the big full moon is in its full glory, and that's when the party happens.
Right.
And it's like, oh, how did we execute this? Is it going well? Did I screw up? Are there any issues, obstacles, frustrations happening? What do I need to, change or fix? And ideas coming into play, and did everybody show up? Was everybody happy? And then after the full moon is, of course, you have to clean up the party. So going around, going back to the new moon, how did your party planning turn out? Did it turn out exactly as you intended when you started at the new moon, or did it change and evolve when you actually had the party at the full moon? Right. So this is sort of a debriefing period when you get into the third quarter moon phase. And each phase here is only about a week apart, 7 days apart. And when you get into the third quarter, it's all about debriefing and asking yourself, okay, what worked, what didn't work? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to change? So when you head back from the third quarter to the new moon, that's a good time to let go of old habits and behaviors, or changing how would you do the party differently next time when the new moon comes around. And
I love that analogy. Oh, I love that. And we've talked about this before, but I love hearing it again and again because it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, and it's neat because the energy is from the new moon to the full moon, the energy is building. From the full moon to the new moon, again, the energy is waning or slowing down. You're cleaning up things, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the build up to the big party. That's all the energy building up, and then it's the recovery, right? So the resting and the reflection and I love that.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I know. I love that. Yeah. So yeah, even just looking at that for yourselves, following the moon through, even just doing that, noticing how you are between the new moon and the full moon, and then the waning from the full moon back down to the new moon again, the waxing going up and the waning going down, right? So just watching that cycle within yourself. And then there's lots of apps out there, and you can find out when those moon phases are, on the internet. So it's all over the place, right?
Well, and I love that reminder too because I know for myself in the past, I never really paid attention. Like I just watched the moon make its changes, but I never really paid attention. I would probably say I was more conscious of celebrating the full moon, and I never really paid too much to the new moon until, of course, I got into, other methodologies and starting to recognize I actually never realized the importance of starting at the new moon as that cycle.
Yeah. Well, and before our calendars were created, that's how people lived. They lived by the moon and the planets. And even today, farmers still plant by the moon. The sailors still sail by the moon, the tides, watching the tides, right? And all the emergency services out there, I'm sure they dread it every time the full moon comes around because they know they're going to be busier or things are going to be a little more crazy out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the moon plays a huge part, and it has throughout history.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love you to answer this question because, and I've had this conversation with other people, and you and I have had this conversation, so we'll bring it up again. Which is the new moon? Which is the one about releasing? So is it the new moon or the full moon?
About releasing?
Mm-hmm. Specifically about releasing rituals.
Releasing rituals? I would say that just before the new moon, okay, between the third quarter and the new moon is about releasing.
Mm-hmm.
And the new moon energy is unfocused. It hasn't been sort of collaborated yet, okay? At the full moon can also be about release as well, because it's that climax, it's that culmination of the manifestation of the new moon, where that full moon is all of a sudden the party's happening, the volcano's exploded. It's like, oh yes, this is great. So there's a release there as well. So there's a little bit of a letting go there too, because, oh good, my work is done, I can relax now.
Right, I can
right?
enjoy the party.
So, but I would say the majority of the really letting go is between the third quarter and the new moon.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the intention setting should then be with the new moon.
Yes, the intention setting is with the new moon. And like I say, around that period, so just before the new moon is really letting go of the old to come into the new, right? To come into that new phase. And it's like, because we got to clear out the old, like you said, clearing out all of our email junk, our junk email, we no longer, to allow new stuff to come in. Right? So it's all about, when we can let go of old habits and behaviors, and new ideas are there to form for ourselves to move forward. And so, and the neat thing about this, it happens every month.
Right.
So you can do it every month.
Party every month if you want.
You can party every month if you want. And it's okay if you don't do things right the first time. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, what did I need to learn here? What was my learning? Why did I need to go through that? And the full moon too is also about how you relate to others as well. You're relating in that because you're at the party, right?
Yeah.
So how you're relating. So it's so there's different points, as to letting go of things, but it's different letting go at different points, right?
Well, and a big part of it is, once you've planned, you got to let go and let go and let God, right? You got to trust
Exactly.
everything is happening according to the bigger plan. So you can have a plan, and it's going to be railroaded anyway. So, and then things happen better. It happens in a much more expansive way than you can ever have imagined anyway, right?
Exactly. So yeah, especially since we're at home now and following the rhythms of the moon, even just that simple new moon, first quarter full, third quarter back to new moon. See how your life is, and being conscious of it, how you're feeling at each of those points.
Yeah.
You might surprise yourself what you find.
I love that. What a beautiful way to end, because I think that's such a really wonderful advice. And especially, we are being called home, and that's how, especially with women's cycles, everything was guided by the moon cycle. And we've been missing that, especially living in a concrete world. I know naturopathic doctors and many other healers that I've talked to, when we're so distracted, we're missing the cycles. We're missing our own natural rhythm. And insomnia, the list goes on and on of all kinds of health issues, because we're so distracted that we're not actually even present to what our natural rhythms are. And to really sit in reverence of the cycles of the moon, and to be present to the body and how the body is waning, flexing, opening, expanding, and then closing, right? Just really being aware of that, the expansion, and then, the rest and reset time. And that's my hope for humanity, that how amazing would it be if we could be in a deeper rhythm of our life, a deeper rhythm with our worlds, a deeper rhythm with the collective. I think that would be you know, it brings harmony, and that's what everyone wants, is balance and harmony.
Yep. It is. Very true, very true. But you're dealing with how many 7 billion people on the planet?
Yeah. So, but how cool would it be if we could all get there, you know? Oh my gosh, that would be like utopia, I think.
It would. I know. Hey? Not in this universe, I don't think. But anyway, a lot of us are, though. A lot of us are. So,
Yeah.
but it is a change. I do know that what we're going through right now is a change that is needed, that we need to go through this. That's one of the big messages that I've been getting. So hunker down, hang in there, stay focused on self, and know that there are opportunities out there for you.
I totally agree. Well, you know, thank you so much, JoAnn. I love our time together. I always learn so much more from you and just deeper takeaways. So thank you for being with me today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much, Dixie, for having me.
You're
a
so
pleasure.
Yeah. So if you'd like to connect with JoAnn, I'm going to put the link in the show notes just below on the video. And, you know, again, yes, so many juicy details. I love that. So to our viewers, thanks for watching. I really hope that you found some value, and I would love to invite you to continue the conversation. You can post in the comments below. You can come and join me in my Facebook group, Inspired Women Gathering, living out of an abundant life, business, and deepening into spirituality. If you're inspired to share, you know, please share it out to your community. And, you know, my hope is that we continue to bring light, love, and hope to the world. Until next time, abundant love. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.